Well, good evening and happy Friday. Welcome to the Just Jump In live stream and technical difficulties. I was going to have a few every once in a while because it is a live stream, but welcome everybody. Um, say hi if you're lurking in the background or active in the chat. Go ahead and say hi. Let me know you're here. So tonight we have a Randy who popped in, but he's out and about in Iowa, and we have Split Rock tonight. So I don't think he does Split Rock. Did you get the night off tonight, or did you work earlier today? Anybody else out there? Say hello, and we'll get started here tonight. I actually did get some movement on flat car this week, and then ran into an odd thing that I'll show you. So I didn't do a whole lot, but what I got to was some stops and starts. One of the things that I have to ask the group is more about these little guys. These are my attempts at the stirrups. I think that's not a good one. Do I even have a good stirrup anymore? So one of these little guys. So I have a question about that tonight that I'll ask. I have another question about the what do they call them? The coupler lift bar or coupler bar, something like that. I got a question about that as well. Okay. So the piece that I did get done was the wood planks. So if you remember with the wood planks, I stained them, but it was too dark a stain. I was using Hunterline stains, and I think I used creosote black. So it came out very dark. So what I did was I did some dry brushing on it with a kind of I think it was like a dirty white color, and also with like a burnt umber color as well, and mixing and matching those and getting some different looks to them, different use looks to them. So and so I did want to show you some pictures of them just going on. So we'll do that. And I don't know why it showed up like that. Let's try this. Sorry. I used wood glue. So I used Titebond wood glue. And then, by the way, I got from, like a condiment container, condiment squeeze bottle from a pizza place, and I use that to dispense it. It works better than the bottle. The regular bottle gets all clogged up, and you have to unclog the tip and stuff. Welcome, Gopher Girl. Nice to see you in here. So I used that and did a little bit of work, then I used the 1, 2, 3 blocks to put weight on them on the pieces, because there was some roundness to the car from what's underneath, and that caused some of the boards to kind of pop up. So I used the weights and did, the 24-hour thing. Here we have them going on more. And then here's a couple pictures. Try to get some up close and some side, what it looks from the side. So one of the things that I found frustrating with this is that the directions don't really talk about painting the car. And I think I would have much rather took an airbrush to this. I was right about something. That's rare. So I took an airbrush to this. I would have taken an airbrush to this whole thing. And if a little bit got on the top, I didn't care. But now I have to go in with with some tape, and I'm gonna have to tape that all up for when I paint the sides and the ends. So a little frustrated that they didn't have that, and I am trying to follow their directions. So Split Rock, it was wood glue is what I did. So I sanded a little bit with a rough sandpaper the top of the styrene base, and then used the wood glue for that. And again, I used Tight Bond wood glue, and that's just because that's what I had. And then I bought some really gigantic bottle at Menards since the others were finally running out. So I'll be using that for a while. That's what I used for it, and it's on there solid. It could use probably some cutting or sanding potentially. We'll have to take a close look at that to see the coverage. Now I do see, looking up close, and I don't know if you can see this, there is a gap there. So I'm probably going to have to, well, depends on what load I put on this. If I put a load on this, it's heavy enough towards the end, it'll cover that up. But it did come up a little bit here on the end. No, you probably can't see that because I have these pictures up. So let's get rid of that. So what I'm talking about is here on this end, I'm noticing it came up a bit. Let's see if there's a little bit of a gap there. And again, I'm not sure with this camera if you can see it, but I'm moving it. Yeah, the load's right. So we were talking about in a previous show that, for this car to work on the layout, you're gonna have where are you gonna put the weight? So we talked about finding a load for it to put the weight on. So yeah, so that's where I got the one of the other things that was frustrating was following the directions was to put on the brake wheel here, and not sure if you could see that still on. There you go. You might be able to see that. That's still on there. That's all stayed, but the brake wheel itself popped off, and it was in the way anyway. So I'm glad it kind of popped off. And we'll get that back on. And then a funny thing happened on the way to the forum. Kudos to anybody that knows that saying. But I went back in to continue to work on this and go back to my steps and see where we are with it and go on to the next steps. And they're doing maintenance on the website that holds the clinics in place, and so I couldn't continue because I couldn't remember other than the stirrups. So what was my question about the stirrups? Well, I did get one that looked kind of decent. glued on, and I glued it on with super glue, but with simple movement of this thing and with how thin and how small this piece is, the CA didn't hold it in place, and CA over time naturally doesn't hold it in place. So I'm wondering if anybody has some tips on what I can use between the brass and the styrene to hold it better. Would something like, well, there's goo or E6000 hold it better than CA, because it popped right off with very minimal manipulation. Zoe, welcome. Caught some of your videos recently, so keep that up, and congratulations. I think you hit 550 subscribers this week or last. So those are my quandaries right now, is in moving on. And then I already lost one of the pieces, but I started that coupler release bar, or whatever you want to call it. So this is part of it. It has two parts to it, and I'm wondering how important the two parts are. So their directions are to put another piece of wire, curl the end of the wire to make a little kind of hook end, and then they want you to get some thread and tie the pieces together, then glue them together. And so I'm wondering why they may want you to do that. Is it because the bar here is thicker between the two pieces? Unfortunately, I lost the last one that I made because they're so small. But I did, if you remember last time, I talked about these jeweler or bead kind of tools that had a 3-pack, and I had this. And so this came in really handy to have to make that hook. So when you squeeze this together, it can hold in place what you need. So all I did with that hook is I got it between the two pieces here and just hooked it around like that. And that easily, although of course hard to see there, but it made the hook. And you can manipulate this the way the hook is. This is straight on, but it's easy as doing something like that. So now I can bend the hook to make it look like that loop. Once again, hard to see, but trust me, it turns out to be a real great bonus tool that I got. But again, wondering what the point is of having the two separate parts and then tying them together. Because if it has to be thicker, if it has to be like two pieces of wire, or I can always wrap it with something and have one piece of wire. And I'm no expert. I'm not trying to make it, I'm trying to make it easier on myself, not harder. So it's not that you can see it here again, but if I'm putting the two wires together, why couldn't I wrap it with something shiny and get it to the length it needs to be, versus putting the two pieces together, finding some thread, tying with thread, and then gluing it. So open the suggestions on that one. And then not sure I'm going to find what I have. see here. Let's see. I don't know how long. Now I wish I did like I did with the cab car, the New Jersey Transit cab car. So yeah, they're temporarily offline for maintenance, but it's been several days. Um, so I wish I did what I did with my with the cab car. I actually took a picture of the article pages because it was getting because I was going through those article pages. They were getting a little beat up, and it's an older magazine anyway. So I wish I did the same here. Now I know when it goes back online, I'm going to take pictures of the rest of it, and so that I can finish this out. There's a little bit of detail left, of course, and then doing the wheels. So, like I said, the next thing on the wheels is following their directions. I had this weird thing where they wanted you to go to the end, and it doesn't really look right. Like on this one, it does because I think I cut into it a little bit. Doesn't look as bad. It looks worse here. So I'll probably cut those off. I also have you can't see it there, but there's a bead of glue on that one that needs to come off. So I'll probably do that, and then I will, and then I'll have to put in the um, drill a hole for the trucks and get those trucks on and do any other finishing touches, and I'll be done. And I'll tell you what's I will tell yes. Yes, you are. And I know I see you there all the time, and he's on all the I think he's on tonight or was on tonight as well. Um I like hanging out on his channel and talking to you and Jerry and everybody there. One of I didn't I've gotten further on this build than I have the previous two times I did it, but it wasn't until I got these on that I realized I really kind of have a car here. I'm kind of surprised at myself a little bit that this looks like a car. It's not pretty, but it sure looks like a railroad car, and so that's impressive to me. And so whatever happens with it, whatever scores I get on it doesn't matter. I think the biggest deal is I'm actually getting it done, and I'm getting somewhere, and I actually can make something that looks like a car. So that's what impresses me about this, and I'm glad that I'm not moving right now on the cab car because of the cost to move forward on it. And it got me to focus on this. And I'm pretty happy with it. And so regardless of whatever score I get from an evaluation on it, just happy that it got done. So, curious what everybody else is working on right now. I know Split Rock, you've been working on a signal tower. Where are you at with that? With the signal tower? I know Gopher Girl's been working away on her Lego builds. She just finished up a Lego build, and she did a couple Lego builds, but she's not doing the big ones. I keep telling her to get the big ones out of they're basically in our kitchen dining room area. I keep trying to get her to build all the big builds, and hopefully she'll get to those soon, but she's doing a lot of the smaller ones. Ready to add windows, and you finish the roof braces. And remind me, this was a scratch build, right? This wasn't a kit. So Randy, you're just in the drawing stages right now, right? So you're just finishing, you're going wall by wall. That's right. We have a date to clean off that table so that you can get that build going. And then I'm going to teach you some landscaping stuff from the model railroading world to add to your Legos. Gotcha. They're kind of the standard, isn't it? The Tichy and Grant line. I spend a lot of time over in the corner in Scale Model Supply, looking through those, looking to try and find the right windows and um, when I was working on the station, it had a couple different window types and multiple windows. So I went out to their websites, to Grant Line and to Tichy websites, and I'm looking for matches. And then I go there and I stand there and go through, and there's a number of times I bent down towards that floor and couldn't get back up, trying to find the right numbered items, because they got wall to ceiling parts there, and sometimes I just can't get up when I'm down looking at the lower levels. So Randy, one of the things that at least I'm sure several CAD programs can do this, but when working with, as I've said before, I'm trying to stick with one and get good at one program, and I'm working with Onshape, and they have this thing where you can pull in photos into your workspace and basically build on those photos. And I'm assuming um, you can resize the photos. Um, but wondering if that's what you're doing. I think it's a neat thing to be able to do. One of the things that I hasn't been printed yet, but one of the things I worked on is I just wanted to see if I could build like a little depot, and I found one somewhere online, and it had dimensions to it and everything, and it was pretty simple, and so it would and I was it would have been neat if I knew how to pull in the photo and put it in there. I'm wondering if it would have done any better, or if I would have done any better using that feature. Uh, but we'll see someday. We'll if we can get that one printed out. I know it had to be broken up parts wise because the bed was too small for it to be printed all as one. And so it was split up into 3 files, basically the main building, a stairwell, and the loading dock for the train side. And we'll have to see how that goes there. So. Cool. So it's a whole nother process that you have to add onto your process to plan for your process to actually process it. So, but I guess the fun is in the journey. and and Zoe, so I haven't been on those chats with um, in a while on Jerry's channel. So what have you guys been talking about on there? Excuse me. And um, wondering if anybody else in the chat is working on anything. By the way, I still got this cough going, and I did the interweb search, and they said, it's normal for your cough to happen up to like 2 months after you get sick. So hoping it doesn't last that long. But I apologize for coughing in everyone's ear. So, all right. Trying to see if there's anything else. No progress, like I said, no progress on the cab car. Still working out the decoder piece of that. I may try at this point, since I don't think I'm going to have anything new printed for a while. I may try to just I may go ahead with styrene and redo these boxes out of styrene to get the lights in there. But I also have to get a hold of some lights for the ditch lights. Again, I'm looking to go with surface mount LEDs at this point. That will kind of fit. And the box here, it's not to block off light inside the cab car. It's actually decorative, or part of what the ditch lights look on the outside of the cab car. And so I need that little indentation, then to cut a little bit of styrene tube, put a lens over it, and put the surface mount LED behind it. So Dr. Google. Likely it'll probably be instead of trying to I probably could figure it out just fine on Amazon, but I might just go with Evan Designs. They're a little more expensive, but slightly more, not so much more expensive than Amazon that they're not affordable comparatively. But you're talking, if you go on Amazon, you're always going to get a volume of things like that. You're going to get 20 lights or 10 lights in a pack or something like that, where, on Evan Design, you're paying for them individually and that sort of thing. But I think that's probably the easiest way to go. I probably can just get parts for them, for all the parts, and put them together myself, which I don't have a problem with. Or I could buy them pre-wired with resistors in them, and so that's likely the way I go. But the big expense on the cab car is going to be the decoder, which I'm finding out is not so simple to get some simple decoder because of the number of lighting functions. Because you have the ditch lights, you have the headlights, you have the marker lights. I will likely put in or cut holes in the roof and put in the beacon lights, and then I want a strip of interior lights. So I we have to get there slowly but surely. Got to save up the money to do all of that. And I'm not there yet. But hopefully, eventually, I will get there. Um, and get back to finishing up the cab car. As Split Rock mentioned, he'd like to have them at the modelers meet in May. And so I would like to get these two cars done by then. Hopefully, hopefully I can get this one done. It doesn't have as much to do on as the other one does, and there's nothing special we're going to do on this one like we are there from any kind of motorization or lighting or anything like that. But again, this one is going to be finishing up the bottom, finishing up any details around the sides, then painting and decaling it, and then it'll be ready to go. So not too much. So this is definitely something I can have done, hopefully well before May, and then the cab car hopefully will get close to finishing it up by May. That would be nice. And then moving on to the next thing. Hey, Ken, welcome. Nice to see you in here. We're just talking about the small amount of progress that I got on the flat car right now, and that was mainly getting all of the boards painted, glued down, and being a little bit more impressed than I thought I would be. If you remember, on one of the earlier live streams, I talked about how I used the Hunter line stain and it was too dark because I used creosote black. And coming back, I used like a kind of a dirty white color from Vallejo, and some burnt umber or something like that, and kind of went over in several layers that dark color. You can see some of them have only a little bit, and some are overly painted. I used a dry brushing method for this, and I think it came out really nice. If you put a load on it and you see where some of these are highlighted, and that might add to it. But I was pretty impressed with how this came out. And how it looks. It doesn't look bad at all. So that's what I've been up to. And I'm just talking about how the cab car, that's on hold just a little bit because I need to get a hold of additional LED lights and a decoder for it. And the decoder is kind of price prohibitive right now. But as Split Rock had challenged me a couple of shows ago, my goal is to get them done by the modelers meet. I would love to be a guinea pig for the rest of the crowd there, to have my models evaluated. I know from a construction standpoint, they're not going to get many points. I know that they'll get all the scratch building points, that sort of thing. But either way, I just want to show people, one, that you can do something like this, that it's not, that it's that you don't have to have a lot of skill. You can build up that skill, and then but that it's doable, and that that it's the AP program that's helping me do this, and it's doing what it's supposed to do. And Split Rock, no, the plan is not to build one car. So we have the cab car, and then you have this one, but mainly because I want to focus on the layout for the AP. I plan to build the additional uh, have an additional 4 cars, 4 passenger cars. Um, so um, I'm likely going to do the additional passenger cars. Now, the passenger cars are slightly different from the cab car, less lighting, um, less, um, could be less underneath, a few different things underneath the cars. So I'm still going to try to make those prototypical. Um, I'm looking at trying to find maintenance away equipment for the Northeast quarter from the 80s and 90s. And I'm not finding it anywhere. I'm not finding any resources. People out east aren't able to find resources. So I might be out of, um, out of the timeline. But one of the cars that I could either build as just a rolling stock type car, or if I motorize it, there's Amtrak has a catenary maintenance vehicle, which in a sense is just a large box. It has a ton of detail because of all the equipment on it. That's a little scary to think about. But I was thinking if I was going to do motive power, that would be an interesting one to do motive power on, and how I would come about doing that. And I think there was one model out there, and I think it was actually a Union Pacific car for some reason. And it was older. I don't remember where I saw it. Um, but that's definitely something I thought about. I know 1 or 2 or 3 people that I've seen on YouTube have done a high rail truck, maintenance truck. Um, my question is, where can I find, if I was going to do something like that, I'd have to find a motor small enough to put in a car in HO scale, and then also have to find like miniature wheels, like really small wheels that I can put on the bottom of the truck. So it'd be an interesting project, and see if I can see additional people. That's cool, Zoe. I've seen some things with Roblox on railroad stuff. That's pretty cool. I know a lot of people also use some of the other simulator games to actually build, like Train Simulator. You can build scenery, and people do, and they sell it and everything. Um, and they use that, and some people have even planned their model railroad layouts using some of those games. So that's pretty cool. Uh, but yeah, so I plan to do more cars. I'm gonna have maintenance away cars. Certainly, like I said, I can throw this one on. This one was more of a challenge for me to build, based on the fact that I tried before, and it was a project that I tried to do and was struggling with. And that's why I kind of like, it kind of hit me once these got on here that it actually looks like a train car. So but yeah, I mean, so I plan to have enough cars. I'll probably be the only one going through the AP program that wants to have more passenger cars. Everybody seems to be worried about passenger cars, and having to have at least one. Um, I want to have at least the ones I have. I have 3 more that I could build right now, and then one I have to figure out. It has the um, wrong underside for um, for the car, so I got to figure out if I can even use that, or might have to scrap that idea. Maybe do something with the top of the car, um, and build something stationary out of that for scenery purposes or something like that. But the idea is using the AP program to get all my certificates through building this, um, through building the layout and all the parts to it. That's cool, Zoe. So, okay. So I have a show and tell tonight as well. So let me go ahead and get ready for that. And um, I uh, will be right back with you. All right. So, what is our show and tell tonight? Well, I decided to dive into the blue bin since I couldn't since I couldn't find my directions for the flat car because they were offline or are offline. I went ahead and dipped into the blue bin because Gopher Girl reminded me that I had promised her to build the Christmas tree farm shack from Interaction Hobbies. So this came as a free kit um, with a purchase that I got for Christmas, and I think they had two different ones at the time, or different timing for different ones, or whatever you bought, you had you could get one of these. So I got it, and so I started on this the other night, and so one of the great things about their directions is they give you suggested colors. Now, obviously, they did it based on their picture, but from the stuff that I had, I picked out obviously what I had. I know that picture's kind of hard to see, but it's a mix of different brands of colors. So on the left there, you see there's a lush foliage green and campground green from Craft Smart, and those will be for the trees. And the main color is a red color. They like, and they mention in here that they like Vallejo products. And I have a number of Vallejo products, but I have others as well. So for the exterior walls, they used a flat red. And I was like, I have a red, I have a craft paint for that. And then I remembered that I got this really, really cheap, but a clearance from somewhere, the ammo colors that recently came out called Rail Center, and there was a caboose red in there. So that's on the left there. I used Vallejo primer because I was going to airbrush. Also in there is Vallejo has game colors, and so game effects colors. They also have washes. So I have an umber wash that I use for the base, and this rotten white, that's what I used on the flat car to dry brush. It's kind of an off-white made to look older. That's from Vallejo. And then finally, I'm going to use for the roof, I'm going to use one of my favorite colors is this from Vallejo's Model Air brand, Panzer Dark Gray. And it's kind of a greenish gray. but it comes off really nice. I think it looks great on girder bridges, but I really like that color. So that's what I was gonna do. Now, one thing I didn't expect, I knew this was a small kit and everything, but what I didn't expect was how how the scribed wood, how soft and light it is. But the first thing I got started with was the base and putting the supports on the base. And here's where just wanted to point out the clamps, and how awesome these clamps are. So Gopher Girl, I did say that you reminded me that this kit was needed to be built, that I promised it. So I did give you credit, by the way. But these clamps are great for this small project. I was able to clamp the edges because when out of the box, when I when I cut the base from the sheet, it actually was warped a little bit. So only part of the support beam was touching. So this helped get that done. And once that was done, all the other support beams went on very easily without having the clamps. So I just needed them from the end, but having these small clamps was very, very useful. Here's that base. And this is where I use the umber wash. You're not really going to see much of this. It's going to be at the bottom. I know certainly their trim on theirs is white, is that white trim that they have all around it, but that doesn't need to be. It can be the base without the trim, and I like this color. I think that came out nicely. Here's where that caboose red was used, which since this is a caboose, that was pretty appropriate. So I did several passes spraying the caboose red on, and it's faded a little bit, and we can always weather it to make it more even looking, instead having some weathered look instead of having light spots on it. But it's no longer a caboose. It's made into something else, so you could take it from that angle. Now you'll see here a little piece broken off. So when I was talking about earlier, was that these pieces are, they're scribed already and cut really, really thin. So when I went to pull this piece off and I was cutting it out and I just grabbed it, it cracked in half. See if you can see the back of that. So that was glued overnight, and the same thing happened here. Luckily, nicely, you can't see it on this end, and it's hard to see here, but you can see this crack all the way through here, and it went up into this one up here through the middle, and it actually cracked at the top there, basically in half, but it was still in this sheet for these, so that was a saving grace. So I have to be very careful when I cut that out. I have the other little part of this here somewhere. I have it, I think, in here, in this somewhere, because this just came in a plastic wrapped pack. I put it into one of these, put all the parts into one of these. This is from a Michael's photo holder. So these are supposed to hold your photos, and it's what I put my paints in. I have two bins of those for paint. So I pulled these out, and now every time I need to store something, I use these. So this comes in very handy. But then I started priming everything and like the trees are primed, I can move on and paint those, but these trees will go together like crossways using the um, slots there. So those will go together nice and easy. I was getting already way ahead in this build. I'm like, I've got to think about putting like ornaments and stuff on them, but it's a Christmas tree farm. They don't have ornaments yet. So um, I won't be, I don't think I'll be doing that, but I was trying to think of methods to do that. But so I only got so far on this one too, because of the trouble I had with it. But it should be a relatively quick build, just like Interaction Hobbies builds. The directions are nice. They have part numbers for let's see if I can. So they got part numbers for everything, and then the directions have which parts go with which on there. And they do everything in layers. So there's the backing here is to those outer walls adds strength, and it has the notches that go into the base. And then their windows and doors are multi-layered. That's typical of their builds, if you remember, like the taco truck that I built and everything. So this looks like a relatively fast build once as long as I haven't broken everything. I'll have to paint some more of the parts. These are really, really tiny in the sheets. So I know with my fingers and my dexterity, I'll probably have a little problem working with them. But yeah, so not, other than that wood being super brittle, this shouldn't be too bad of a build. And doing other Interaction Hobbies builds, I'm used to their directions, I'm used to their woods excuse me, that they use and everything. I just think working with the small parts and things, that'll be my Achilles heel. I guess it's cute that they have the star on them, but when you're buying the trees from a farm, usually they don't have the stars on them. But that's what I thought. Well, maybe, what could I do? I was thinking like flicking like glue on and then just painting that as they painting the little glue dots that I flick on in different colors to make like ornaments and things like that. But I don't think I'll do that. I think I'll just paint them and highlight them, with we'll paint them the campground green, and then highlight them with the lush foliage green. But yeah, so I don't expect this one to take very long, and I promised I would do it. So I'll be working on this one a little bit this weekend, I think, as well. But I encourage anybody, anybody who wants to try Craftsman style kits. You can get a lot of less expensive ones at Interaction Hobbies. I know I had that for, give me a sec here, or it's probably far down my list. And no, I don't have it on here. Where'd it go? There it is. Let's get that. And let's get that into the chat. So there's Interaction Hobbies website. But I encourage anybody wanting to not spend $200 on or $150 on a complicated build when they're getting into kind of Craftsman and wood kits. is to try out Interaction Hobbies. They have a lot more than just the wood kits. They have a lot of 3D printed items as well. And you know, if anybody's a fan of Breaking Bad, they have a whole Breaking Bad scene that they put together. So yeah, so that's what I'm working on. That's from my blue bin and the blue tub. You're right of shame. I don't call it the blue tub of shame though, Split Rock. I think we all just have bigger eyes than we have, time, and so they build up. I have a bunch of other things in there that would take a lot longer to do, and I have this goal of doing this layout through the AP program, and I'm kind of stuck on okay, so the cab cars can't be finished right away because I don't have the money for a decoder and that sort of thing. Why am I not, I'm working on this flat car, but why am I not working on that station, the station that's going to take the longest to do, Gopher Girl, you don't have a blue bin that will fit anything that you have. Well, that's not true. If we clean out some of our blue bins, we might be able to put some of your stuff in there, but you got like a 5 foot pile or 4 foot pile, 5 foot pile of like 5 foot tall, probably 5 foot wide pile of Legos to get through. And Lego keeps producing them and they keep showing up here. I don't know how that works. But yeah, so that's been my week. I'm in the busy season at work, and that's going to go on for another month or so. And so I get pretty tired and I don't do a whole lot. So like, when I was doing these, gluing these each on, I would do a pile of them, put the weights on them, walk away, do something else, sleep sometimes and come back and do some more. So I didn't glue all these down right away in one shot. This took a few days to get through. Hey, Ed from Happy Valley Hobbies. Welcome to the chat. Good to see you in here. Hope things are going well for you. And, I don't remember. I don't even remember if I said hello on your chat on Friday, on last week, on Sunday or whatever. But nice to have you in here, and I do catch up on your live streams all the time. So everybody else here, if you haven't checked out Happy Valley Hobbies, he has more hobbies than just model railroading, but currently that's what he's working on, an 1860s railroad that is not a standard gauge. So he has to do a lot of building. So his track he has to build, he has to modify the steam engines that he can get so that they run in his gauge. And so he does a lot of work and has a very nice, very fun live stream that he does on Sunday evenings, I guess you would call it, Happy Valley. So I encourage you to check his stream out as well. But yeah, so Ed, I was just going over the flat car that I was working on, and as you can see, this is where I got to getting the wood planks on there, and I have some more details to go and the trucks to go on the bottom, but I'm getting closer and closer to at least finishing the building, and then we'll get to painting and decaling and hopefully wrap that up. And then, I've been talking about for my show and tell was from Interaction Hobbies, working on this Christmas tree farm shack that came with a purchase in 2023. And I had promised Gopher Girl that I would get it moving. And so I started it. Um, and so I got it started. So that's what that was tonight. And I did not know if I did not know we had to get the Gopher Girl seal of approval, but I'm sure this stream hasn't got it yet. But it looks like Happy Valley Hobby stream certainly has Gopher Girl's approval. So yeah, it was nice to actually break out I haven't broke out the airbrush in a while and put up the airbrush, the portable booth. And I think Split Rock asked about this one time. I have two airbrushes. They're both beauty airbrushes back in 2019 before the pandemic. I wanted to get an airbrush, and I had my dad's compressor from stuff he did in his airbrushes, and his airbrushes were old, and I didn't really I couldn't really match up needles and things like that, and I was a novice at it. And my father-in-law also got me a compressor, but they're both super loud, and we live in a townhome, so that wasn't conducive to be able to airbrush indoors in our townhome. So Gopher Girl found a beauty airbrush system, and what she found on it was the fact that it was this battery operated one, and this is what it was. So it came with this piece here, which is the battery. It's as I destroy everything, and this was from Amazon, and it came with a USB charger back in the days of regular USB. And you had these kind of containers, and the directions weren't very well written, and they were really for beauty. So they talked about the water in these and all of that. And it came with a single action airbrush, and that's what I learned on. So I still have this, and I can still use it if I need to. I do think I bent the edge of the needle though, but that's kind of replaceable. So I do have this if I want to use it. And it was just called the Beauty Airbrush System. And again, Amazon purchase. Then I decided I wanted to learn with that being sort of limiting a little bit with the single action airbrush. I wanted to see if I can improve on that. So I went out and found spraygunner.com, and they have a brand they call No Name, and it's their own brand, and they produce the parts, or they take parts maybe from other refurbished, I don't know for sure, but they made one like it. And you would think I'm airbrushing this thing, but this is the both of these had 2 speeds, but this is the battery piece of it, and here's the airbrush, and this is a dual action airbrush. So the difference between a single action you just pull back and the paint comes out, right? Dual action allows you to control the air, control the paint in the air by being able to press it in and pull it back however you need. So that's the difference between single action and dual action. This plugs right in here. This one came with a tube, just just like other airbrushes come. But I got so used to holding the airbrush, sort of like a gun, sort of. But I got so used to it, holding it like this, right? And spraying that when I tried to use it by plugging this into the in here, I could not hold this for the life of me. I got so used to it, I couldn't hold it. I feel weird doing this, and so I have to figure that out. And it came with, it also had these additional, there's another one in here, by the way. There's another container. So it came with that. This is called a gravity feed airbrush. So you put the paint in the top and it feeds down in. And it came with a bunch of cleaning pieces. It came with some additional parts. So these are these little rings are help seal parts of this. So if you lose those parts, you have the replacements there. It came with part of the cleaning. I never knew what this was, but it's this really sharp thing, and it's done to be able to clean the tip. And I was doing it in other ways. Is weathering tips really just goth beauty tips and railroad models? That's a good question. Well put. But no, it's painting tips. It's not just weathering, it's painting too. But I consider Go for Girl the trendsetter for finding the original one, because it wasn't talked about from a hobby standpoint. Now it's talked about by everybody in the hobby, and I know that I don't have enough of a following that I gave it the idea, but it's made its rounds. But so I got this. It was a special they had. They were running out of them. The other great thing about this setup and what they try to do at Spray Gunner, I forgot to mention this, is they try to make things interchangeable. So this is a piece that fits between the airbrush and the compressor. There are different ones out there, and you could basically then, with different airbrushes, I can buy an airbrush if I want to upgrade this airbrush to something more expensive for whatever reason. I could do that and still fit it with the system. So that's kind of really neat that they make all kinds of parts. They have all your spray airbrushing needs. So I like them, and I've had success now with them and everything. And I'm not an expert airbrusher, but those really work in my setting. The bigger air compressors, if we ever get a house and live on our own, would be better because I can have different air pressures. That one, those two, I can only have 2 air pressures. But I can adjust the air pressure as needed. I'm not expert enough to know what air pressure should be used for what. But certainly it was a good purchase and a good upgrade, a good original purchase and a good upgrade. And so if anybody's in a place, first of all, if you want, one of the things I've found is you don't have to, if you're, let's say you just need the airbrush to cover stuff, you don't have to be you don't want to be an artist with it, then you don't have to spend hundreds of dollars on an airbrush. You can get very cheap airbrushes. They range from like $20 on upwards. And there is a company called USA Airbrush who specializes in mostly Badger stuff. So Badger equipment, Badger paints, which is another known airbrush company. They have a partnership with the NMRA. So if you're an NMRA member, you can get a discount going through them. And so that, you can take some money off basically of your membership. Yep. So split rock, correct. Don't skimp on it. The I have a portable spray booth, another Amazon purchase by Ms. Gopher Girl. Welcome back, Zoe. Um, so um, the so the spray booth that I have, it folds out. It has filters in the back, a fan in the back, LED lighting, and she picked a really good one for LED lighting. There are some other ones that are not as good from the LED lighting, but this one's very good. And I have, it comes with a long exhaust tube, and I have that go right out the window. The other thing though too is I also I don't use enamels paints. Um, I use acrylic paints, and so they're not toxic like some of the other stuff is. But what I do use the paint booth for, that's not when I'm not spraying, is I'll use it for when I need to use, isopropyl alcohol, any of the taco sauce, any of the glues like the Tamiya thin glues and the Tamiya putty that I have, anything like that. I'll use the spray booth for two reasons. One, the lighting is fantastic, and I don't have that kind of lighting anywhere else in the house. And two, the exhaust, and then the exhaust fan will go outside. So that's correct, Split Rock. Don't mess with your health. Make sure you have good exhaust when you're spraying. And Zoe, so I was just talking about when we were talking about painting stuff, I was showing the airbrushes that I had, and they're beauty airbrushes. So they're ones that hairdressers use because the air compressors for most airbrushes and other applications are too loud for where I live. So I was showing that pulse breathing. You have the basics. That's correct. Happy Valley. I hear you need water though too. Something about keeping the blood flowing or something like that. But yes, as long as you have the blood flowing, you have the pulse, you're breathing, you're good. So yeah. So anyway, so I thought I would show you that. And I didn't have a whole lot more tonight. Just wanted to get together and talk through my progress and see how everybody else is doing and what they're working on. Ed, were you working tonight on anything? Mm-hmm. So, all right. So tonight we got lucky. We had I mentioned that Gopher Girl and I do a date night with University of Minnesota hockey, and yeah, Split Rock. I was planning to bring the flat car, and also I'm going to bring. I've brought it before to our meetings, but I'll bring the pipe load flat car that I have. That was the one with the doggy poop bag rolls. I'll bring that because that one's finished. That one was just super detailed or semi detailed. Um, so, I don't know why I have to tell you this. I think Gopher Girl should get on this, but Gopher Girl. So as I was starting to talk about, tonight is really the start of the men's hockey for the University of Minnesota. And we're season ticket holders, and we do date nights for to go to the games, and we do date nights when they're away. And luckily, it's a late night game because they're out in Las Vegas to start the season. So that's coming up shortly tonight. So Gopher Girl doesn't believe that I'll be able to stay up through the game. And to understand this, um, to understand this, I am tired all the time. I get tired in the middle of the day. I've fallen asleep in, meetings before at work. I've fallen asleep just sitting eating lunch between shifts. And I'm not a late night person. Like Gopher Girl's a late night person. She's a gamer. She's up until the morning, and so we have slightly different schedules. So she doesn't believe I'll be able to make it through the hockey game tonight. She thinks I will be sleeping through most of it, and so she wants to have folks in the chat go ahead and guess which period of the hockey game tonight I will fall asleep in. And when the snoring starts, in whatever period that is, if you guess the right period, then we'll be presenting a prize. If multiple people, get if multiple people guess the right period, then you'll each have a chance to win the prize. And I'm not allowed to be part of the contest, and so I can't influence people. But I don't even think I'll make it through the game tonight. The periods, for those who may not be hockey fans, the periods are 45 minutes about, with commercials and play stopping and everything like that. And then it's about 15 minutes between periods. So games are 2.5 to 3 hours. Game starts at 9:30 Central Time. And I'm usually asleep by 11:30. So, pick your period, throw it in the chat. We'll record that, and the winner will get a prize. I think we determined it was going to be a prize from Interaction Hobbies. You would, Ed, the fourth period. I don't know if I can hold out till the fourth period, especially since there are only 3. Throw your guesses in there before we wrap up for the evening, as we're getting close to the game time. And then we'll see what happens. And then Gopher Girl next week will announce the period I fell asleep in. And like I said, if we have a tie between people, then by the first goal, Ken, directions, listen to directions. It's got to be by a period. So will it be the first period? Will it be in the next? So if I'm on time, I mean, we may still be on the stream, but if I'm on time to the game and it starts at 9:30, first period will end by 10:15. Second period will be probably around 10:30 to 11:15. And then the third period will probably be 11:30 to 12:15. I know it, Ken. So right now we officially have one guess, in the chat because Ken can't follow directions. And I don't have any sugar to keep me up either. Split Rock, since the divisions or the conferences have changed, we don't get to play the Bulldogs very much. All right, so Ken's pick is in. Gopher Girl allowed by the first goal or the first period for Ken, now that he threw that in there. And so if you want something free from Interaction Hobbies, I'd throw a guess in there in the chat. I think Randy would, if he's still in there, he would lose out. He's always out in the wilderness. He would lose the item we get for him. Yeah, Split Rock for the most part, they're all Friday, Saturday games. So Split Rock, as I say that, it looks like actually next weekend we actually do play you guys. We do Duluth. Looks like we're gonna play in Duluth next weekend. Oh, and I'll have to put a disclaimer in the notes. End of the second period. Yeah, I should be asleep by then. Oh, did I say that out loud? Oops. If I stay up the whole time, Gopher Girl might get me something from Interaction Hobbies. Doubtfully. Very doubtfully. But I'm sometimes these streams have gone on for 2 hours and I've been pretty tired, so I crash pretty hard at night, and I just kind of hit a wall, and then it's hard to stay up unless I have sugar, but there's not really much sugar in the house tonight, so don't think I'll have a chance at that. So the Split Rock, Gopher Girl and I actually took a trip up once to. We've been to Duluth a couple times, but we took a trip up once just to, partly to go to look around, but to go to watch hockey up there, and to go to the Split Rock Lighthouse, and we actually stayed in an bed and breakfast that was all rail cars. I forget exactly which town that was in up there. Gopher Girl might know, but it was they built it was really neat. They had all the cars stationary and kind of connected together, and and it was a nice stay. It was whatever it was big. I felt like it was bigger than a car that we were in. Um, but I think I mean, how do you fit a king size bed in a car like that? So Larsmont, I'm not sure where that is. Is that a fancy hotel? So, so it looks like, let's see what. So it looks like it's called the Train Car Inn. Uh, um, I'm sorry, it looks like it's called the Northern Rail Train Car Inn. I don't know if that's what it was called back then, um, but it's in Two Harbors, so it's up where where we were going up to see the lighthouse and maybe well, yeah. I wonder if they expanded it or something, or it's pretty big. I can't remember the restaurant, but back in um, back um, in in New Jersey, there were there was two locations for this restaurant, but it was kind of the same way. It was like four rail cars together, and I remember jumping up into the cupola of the caboose that you could climb up into and everything. But it was a restaurant, and it had these four rail cars around it, kind of a center area. And they had the best peanut butter pie I've ever had or remember having. Um, I don't remember what that was called, but that was out in New Jersey. Um, but so I always thought that was cool too. Yep, Split Rock. What period do you think I'm going to fall asleep tonight? And it shouldn't have any bearing on the fact that I feel really tired already. Yes, Zoe, I've heard of the Strasburg Railroad. Um, what I'm sure I make people mad when I say I'm not first before face off. Well, it's coming up soon, so um, but we'll put you down for the first period there. Um, yeah, it'll I always fear that I'm gonna get in some kind of trouble when I say that I'm not the biggest um, Steam fan. And I know um, Strasburg Railroad um, is associated with Steam. Um, it's weird. I don't like them as trains for some reason as engines, but I find it intriguing how the things were put together and how there's about a billion pieces, um, and um, that you know um, how they're put together and how they work. That's the impressive part to me. Oh, you stayed in the caboose. Cabooses are kind of small, aren't they? Are they have enough room for a bed in them? I suppose that there are some cabooses that had lodgings for conductors who were on trains in those days. Challenge accepted, Ken. I actually really like interaction hobbies kits. Uh, but yeah. So we've got. I was wondering, Split Rock, if I was going to make it down the stairs. We'll see about that. She did say she had ice cream. That might be enough motivation. Um, but yeah. So I appreciate everybody stopping in. I appreciate all the guesses. Um, I'm leaning very heavily on the workbench as I'm talking to you, so we'll give you that much. um, I appreciate everybody stopping in to check out what I'm working on, and I hope that I'm inspiring people to just jump in and try their own hobbies. Doesn't have to be model railroading, be whatever you want it to be. Just try stuff. You may be surprised. You may like some of the things. And yes, our dog Kaya loves steam engines. She loves the chuff of the steam engine. She gets into a trance when she hears them, and she looks, you know, at our TV, and she's staring for that thing, and I don't understand that whole thing. Um, so so Ed wins the Cliff Clavin Award tonight. Um, and if you don't know what the Cliff Clavin Award is, you watch Cheers. Um, it's an old show for some of you youngins around here. It's a very old show now. Um, but um, Ed definitely wins the Cliff Clavin Award with that rail car fact. But anyway, as I was saying, I really appreciate everybody stopping in and hanging out with me and watching what I'm doing and interacting and asking questions. Um, and um, just really appreciate it and hope that I inspire you to try something that you've never tried before and to just jump in. And with that, I will say good night to folks. Have a really good weekend and keep on modeling.